Welcome back, everybody, to another big. This is a big episode. We're finally done with all of our underdog drafting. I know there's puppy four, but no one's actually going to be in the puppy four, right? We're done drafting. Good. So we're back. Hockey. We're looking to hit the 70 mark for me, myself. I just entered my 69th underdog NHL Best Puck Classic. We're here with Matt, otherwise known as, if you will, the primary points guy. Do we want the 30-second countdown, Matt, or are we just going to get right into it? Is that just annoying?
I think you can do it. For
No.
continuation.
I need to make one. I need to make one.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
I'm gonna make one. That was like on the radar, and I know how to do it now, and I just got to do it. Let's just get right into it. We don't need a 30-second countdown of the same freaking noise you hear for like everyone that doesn't want to make their own or pay for someone to make it. Yep, green screen in the background. It's pretty good. I was actually just ordering a ring light before we got started because it's a little bit grainy, but new microphone setup. So if anyone in the comments wants to tell me if it sounds okay, I can also move the mic out of the shot, but I think this is going to be the best setup moving forward. But yeah, all the new stuff. Matt, are you good to go, or want me to just keep talking while you do whatever you're doing?
I'm good to go. I'm tweeting out, or I'm putting the link in the Discord.
Okay, yeah, I'm just clicking order right now. I literally was like clicking order on the ring light. We're going to be live. Would like to have it too before I do the Bruins and the Sabres, but I'm not waiting for a Boston media member any longer. I'm just going to have Matt give me a ticket into the show, I think, and move on from Boston. We asked like 4 people now, and just no one answered. So whatever. Boston's really wonky anyways, so I think that'll be fine. I put in the what's it called? The thumbnail. I put Taysom Hill. I don't think we need to talk very long on the Taysom Hill thing, other than just like it is funny that this is literally hockey. Like every day, I'm just like, that guy's not that position, and whatever. And then the one time, I get it. Like the contest is over, and it's not like Taysom Hill. People are mad because Taysom Hill is like not somehow a quarterback. It's like we drafted 90% of these lobbies, and like now you're going to change it, but. It is an interesting debate for sure, I guess, but I guess it's, it's not even an interesting debate. It's just interesting that FFPC is like tripling down on this. Matt, anything you want to say about that controversy or just?
Yeah, it's a stupid rule written before best ball was in vogue. That's really all you can say, because in 90% of leagues, like, you just drop him on waivers and it doesn't matter. But the whole point of best ball is that you're locking up this money for 6 months and, yada, yada. That just didn't exist when the rule was written. So it's really stupid. It feels like a situation where you just override it once, you change the rule for best ball specifically and move on. But they're not doing that. So yeah, I get why people are pissed. But I also get where they're coming from, where it's like, that's our rule, we're sticking to it. But it just seems like a rule that hasn't been thought through. But coming from the hockey space, I'm not sure that you can really detest someone for not thinking about their sport when, our entire existence is people not thinking about our sport. So yeah.
And
that's all I have on football. I got to get my 75th draft, and we move on.
It was a good. Honestly, I what?
I can't believe I did 75 drafts. Are we just way out of sync?
I'm honestly surprised you do more.
Yeah, I can't believe I did 75. It was miserable.
Yeah, no, I thought you were going to do a lot more when the season started. You seemed like very in on the, like, I can max DraftKings for sure. I felt like that was like you were going to do it, but no, not even close. No, it was like an enjoyable, season of best ball drafting in the NFL space, because it really feels like so many people are digging into like the 900th degree of like difficulty in football now. And I think that me and you, or at least me, I'll speak for myself, just maybe it's just like the hockey mentality that I have of just like you got to build the best team to advance. Like I know like week 17 matters a ton. Like I'm going to draft for that too. But like I think the level of difficulty people were putting into these on their own was pretty interesting to watch. Also, I think my headphones are about to die, so I may need to get my other headphones out. I thought these were charged, but go on.
DJ, I've talked to you every single day for this entire summer, most of which while you were drafting. I will not sit here and let you say that you were not overthinking every single aspect of the goddamn draft every time. Oh my god, this pick or this pick. Oh my god,
Guys,
this
oh
like
no, no. I
you
mean,
know,
yeah,
I
like I was
just
trying to pick the best players, but
yeah. Yeah, it's so yeah.
I get mad when
Not
people snipe
overthinking
me.
it though.
I
I
mean,
don't know.
that's
I don't know.
true.
Yeah. So
No, yeah, whatever. We could just move on. It's been 5 minutes of this. Also, I might just grab my other headphones now and turn off my screen while I try to get behind my green screen to find the other headphones. I don't know how these are dying, but one of them just made the noise.
okay, well
I
then
thought, yeah. Why don't we
let's
transition into your the PowerPoints, the primary points?
yeah, let's talk about it. So it's not in the description of the video. But if you're listening on the pod feed, it'll be in the
Oh
description
yeah,
of this podcast. And it's also on my Twitter account. It's my pinned Twitter. But I
I can
sort
add
of
it.
was just sitting there, mostly inspired by Pat Mayo's podcast from the weekend. If you like, you know, that sort of like in insider industry type discussion, he posted one on the Pat Mayo Experience feed with I think Sia something. His name is Sia. About like his rise through the industry, and he was just sort of talking about like how he was just doing stuff, and you know, like every time someone asked him a question, he would just respond, just do it. And so it kind of made me think like I spent all this time in the Discord, like actually writing out defenses of various takes I have and whatever. And it's like, you know, the Discord's great. I think that's a great place to hang out and spend my time. But I could do the exact same effort into like a newsletter, something that goes out via email, and probably more caters toward people who are not sitting in the Discord, you know, 12 hours a day, bored at work or whatever. And they just, you know, they want to catch up on hockey once a day or something like that. Um, so yeah, the link is in the description of the video now. So if you refresh, you'll see it. But again, if you find me on Twitter, I started a newsletter. The first sort of newsletter I did, I don't know, first edition. I gave a quick intro, sort of to what you can expect, which really is not anything overly specific. Um, and a bit of background about me, especially if you're on the more DJ side, where you've been exposed to DJ's work and sort of the underdog space and not really in the DraftKings, you might not really know who I am other than just the dude who talks to DJ. So I went into a bit of my history, you know, in the fantasy space and the DFS space, and you know, just sort of why you should care about what I think, other than just like you know, I'm super cool and you know, handsome and everything else that you already think about me. Just some of like you know that intro stuff, and then talking very specifically about underdog drafting and sort of projections versus ADP and various drop off ranges. So I'm not going to go too in depth on this show just because, you know, I want you guys to check out the newsletter and give that a read. Um, but we'll touch on it briefly. So, DJ, are you all set now?
Yeah, if my headphones die, I'll just mute myself and turn
Okay.
on the new ones. But I got them, so I'm ready.
Okay.
I don't know if
Um,
one of these is going to die. I don't really know. We'll be good.
yeah. So I've been pleasantly surprised that anybody has clicked on the newsletter at this point. So thank you to everyone who's clicked on it, checked it out, and to everyone who's subscribed. It's super nice and appreciate it and hope to keep good stuff coming. So and of course please let me know if there's anything you want me to talk about, you know, anything specific. You know, I invite questions in this chat or in Discord or anything else, but you know, it doesn't hurt to ask if there's something you're interested in, because odds are it could spur an idea. That's where a lot of the work so far has come from. Things happen in Discord and I go, can I put some data to that, or can I put a thought to it? And that's just sort of the natural evolution. So now there's sort of like one single compository for all of that, sort of those thoughts and you know ideas to sort of live. So hopefully that will continue through the DFS season and you know so on. But covering fantasy hockey in really the only way I know how, which is probably too wordy and too in depth and way too excited. But DJ, um,
You want
let's
to pull it up?
cover.
Pull it up.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Let's
mean, I actually just had it up 2 seconds ago. I could also pull it up, but I actually just clicked
yeah
subscribe because I was. Let me just pull it up. Well, if there's something else you want to show.
Uh, I was just trying to think of the best way to show the other thing that I was planning on sharing that wasn't in the newsletter. But I
You
can
work on.
share the
What you want to do? Okay.
okay, yeah.
I
I
just
mean
pulled
sure,
it
you
up,
go ahead.
but
Yeah,
I'll
you go
pull,
ahead.
pull
Let
it
me
up and then just,
scroll through.
whatever you think. So yeah, I just subscribed myself. Very easy, very. I know you were saying like, oh, it's not like completely done yet or whatever, but you made it legitimately last night. That's not an exaggeration. We were like on the phone at like 10.
Yeah.
So the graph here, which is I can make it even bigger. I mean, I don't know if you want to give a brief explanation, but I know you cover it pretty well below. But you can see here, centers are over here in purple,
Yeah,
wingers and defensemen. Yeah, just keep going.
Yeah, just keep going. The idea was to just sort of include something that I've already had off the shelf via, my work in Discord and just sort of the thoughts I've put together. But really, I would, yeah, really, I would like for people to check out the writing itself and sort of to get their to get my takes through that medium for now, just because I kind of want to get this thing going. But really, the main thing I sort of wanted to highlight is that one, I've shared sort of like through 67 drafts my top exposures. One takeaway that I had in reviewing that is I don't really have a lot of center concentration, and that's sort of related to the main point of my sort of, I guess, my first primary point, if you want to call it that, and just sort of that like the positional depth at center is so great that I really don't want to be burned by going way overweight on a center and just having them fail or get hurt or something, because there's just so many good centers. And then to sort of further that idea, the chart you were showing before that obviously was very hard to intuit anything from. I sort of dig into a bit further down the newsletter and just sort of look at basically based on the puck luck projections, specifically tailored for upside. So there was a bit of a discussion in the Discord about, oh, these numbers don't line up with last year's results. That's because I'm sort of looking for an upside-based projection, just sort of to put things in linear order. I just feel like that's a more natural version of how we should be drafting. We should really be chasing that upside over the course of a season. But just sort of saying, in a certain area of the draft, X number of centers are going to be taken, Y number of wings, and Z number of defensemen. Let's put a visual marker there where I'm estimating about that many will go in each and every draft. What can we learn from the sort of pattern of just literally projections of the players, within that range, ahead of that range, so on and so forth. And really, I found that the drop off at wing is just so much more substantial than center and defense. And that the ADP range of that position is so narrow that it's really beneficial to get in and out of wing, with your early investment, more so than it is for centers, where it's just a very broad range in terms of the overall projection. So that's sort of the main takeaway. There's a lot more in there, but again, thank you to everyone who's already checked it out. I'm continuing to work on it, making it look nicer and, the theme and everything. But for now, if you sign up the next time I write something up, probably this weekend, it'll be in your email inbox and look all pretty and stuff. So, and yes, DJ, you get a nice little shout out at the end because you literally posted this weekend the draft that sort of encapsulates the idea I was trying to get across, that like that's actually not a bad strategy. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's a couple of things that like, I mean, first off, everything you said, I agree with largely. And like, one thing you said, I don't think you even said it yet on this, is that like, until someone like truly proves this wrong, and I think the only thing you could say to prove it wrong is that we don't have enough data yet. That's just such an easy answer. It's like, well, we don't really know because it was only like 5,640 entries last year and whatever.
Yep.
It's like, okay, that's the only real answer that is out there, that this doesn't actually hold much merit. But then what? Like, it's not really answering the question. It's just saying like, we can punt it till next year. Well, punt it till next year all you want, but I'm going to take advantage of what we have now. And I think the last point I wanted to make is that, the last point I want to make is
we also drafted.
You can get unique still. Okay. All right. The last point I want to make still, if you don't mind, is that you can still get unique and you don't have to stick to any sort of script. And I think that the problem is that people are getting unique by saying, I'm going to take more centers, when there's other options to get unique within your build. It doesn't have to be 3-7-3-3. Okay. Yeah. I'll let you go now.
Yeah, the main thing is, last year's data also showed, with a very different environment where, we knew last year that the centers in 2021 absolutely smashed. And so like that's why it was like the top four is so powerful, so on and so on. That still showed that the 3-7-3-3 was the powerful build. And then last year it was like, oh, the centers kind of sucked except for McDavid, and then Draisaitl got there in the playoffs, yada yada. But McDavid was just so powerful, it still didn't matter. Like 3-7-3-3 was still the optimal build. So I get it. I get all the arguments against it. I'm not going to try and relitigate those wars because we've done it several times. Um, but yeah, I do think that sort of showing that the the center position has a lot of depth is not the same thing as saying you should be taking more of them. That's not really the point that I take away from it. But if that's something you think that you can, basically beat the odds from the last 2 years, where 4-6-3-3, for instance, it's just been a much worse advancement rate out of the regular season, and once you get to the playoffs as well, then be my guest. Like, it's not that you can't build good teams like that. It's just that your odds of hitting the right team are just, reduced via that method. So, in any case, I kind of want to move on from this just because there was
Sure.
something else I wanted to cover that is not in any sort of newsletter. Um, so
Yeah,
let
pull it
me.
up. Take your time.
Okay,
Yeah, no,
so
I think, yeah, I think the main point that I just wanted to make again is that like being unique, it is not that important in this contest still because it's still very small, and using the math to make the best decision, like you can still get weird, if you will, in a different way. And I think just like doing two centers or two defensemen and a couple builds and adding that extra winger might actually be like a bit more of a ticket than um like forcing it in and thinking like, well, then like you like thinking you need to win flex by adding more centers. It's just like, to me, it's like that's the argument. I still don't really see it, but okay, let's see the new math. I actually don't even know what you're going to show because I don't think you said anything about this to me.
no, I posted in the Discord, and we all know that you're not really dropping in the Discord much. Um, So this is something that I kind of just want to walk through because it's not, it's. I think it's almost. I think it's kind of clear. Let's see. Can I zoom out a little bit more? Is this legible, or should I get rid of the freeze frame here? I think that's okay. I
I
don't
mean, I
know.
think it's fine.
Uh,
Yeah.
s- so basically, what this is showing, actually, I need to show one more row. So let me just get rid of this freeze. We all know that 25% is the advancement rate. Okay, got it. Good. So we're sort of expecting that on average, teams will advance 25% of the time. So when we look at 2022 data, I sort of just went through, okay, how many, of each position do you have by X number round? So, for example, in round one, if you took a wing, you had a 27% advancement rate. If you took a center, you had a 23% advancement rate. That it's because David Pastrnak and Brady Tkachuk had, a really high advancement rates out of the first round versus McDavid had a really high one at center and everyone else had really poor ones. So, it's almost 50-50, but still you're sort of seeing, just that effect last year. I'm not reading too much into that. But this sort of continues as you go. If you're taking zero wings through round 4 or even round 5, that's where you really start to see this drop off where like if you're not investing in wing early, you're just going to lose the position because you have to fill 2 per week. So it's very clear though that this is also incorporating things like drafters just not being very good. Maybe they're taking 4 centers early, which obviously people who are knowledgeable will not be doing. So it's important to layer on that context that we don't have in this sort of data set. But I'm really interested in what happens later on in drafts because the sort of saying has been, okay, well, I have 6 wings. I don't need a 7th one because I want to draft a center or whatever. That's sort of been the argument that goes around. And so what I wanted to do is sort of look at this as sort of a stepwise function where let's say, I get to round 11 and, ideally, based on last year's data, I have 6 wings. Okay, that's great. Like, if we reverse course, we can go all the way back to, say, round 9, where there's a 41% advancement rate if you have 6 wings through 9 rounds. So the question is, should I draft another wing in the next round? And so you look and okay, do you draft a wing? If no, then you have 6 wings through 10 rounds, and your rate drops a little bit. If you have 7 through 10, it actually goes up a bit to 44%. These things are probably at the fringes of like, there's maybe not that many people who overinvest in a wing like this, but it sort of starts to show just the power of having a heavy investment in the wing position in particular. When we get to late in drafts is where I think this sort of starts to get interesting, because we see here that if you have 6 wings in round, let's say 13, as you stop taking wings, your advancement rate is dropping every time. So let's say you have a 29% advancement rate when you have 6 wings through 13 rounds. If you add to that list, you go up to 31%. If you don't add to that wing set, you go down to 27%. If you're at 6 to 14, you go down from 7 or 27 to 26 if you don't take one, and you go up to 29. So, continue that to around 15. At every step, there's just sort of like this natural step function that says if you get that 7th wing, your odds of advancing increase. And of course, that's not perfect science. It's not sort of incorporating the various decisions that are being made in that round. But I like to think that over the course of, let's call it 2,000 drafts, because that's about how many teams took 7 wings. Like, there's a lot of signal there, in my opinion, that like we're not just sort of playing into like dumb luck here. Like, it makes sense that you really need to invest in the wing position. Everything we've looked at so far has really driven that point home. Um, and then conversely, when we quickly look at centers, we see that every time you have 3 centers late in drafts and then you try to draft a 4th, your advancement rate just drops. Like, this sort of decision seems to have a negative impact on your advancement rate into the playoffs. So, like, if you have 3 centers to 12 rounds and you add one in the next round, you drop to 20% versus, had you just stayed there, you're at 24% advancement rate. I don't know that, I don't know if I fully buy that like having 1 center through round 13 is like the key or anything. Like, I think that's a perfectly viable strategy, particularly if you have that sort of McDavid team, this is probably capturing a lot of those teams that just said, hey, I have McDavid, let's wait. So that's probably influenced a bit by just the player itself who you're, drafting with in that scenario. But it's just sort of another sort of visual aid for me that sort of helps and reinforce the things I already believe about not over investing in the center position, just because like you can fill the center position with very good players late in drafts, which circles back to what I wrote about in my newsletter. So that's the really quick thing I wanted to cover. If there's any questions in the chat or any further conversation warranted there, we can certainly do that. But that's about it. DJ went off video, so he's probably crying at how wonderful that explanation was. But DJ, are you there? Okay, good news. DJ has left the chat. This is not my chat. Gosh, I wish I had more fun stuff to share in Excel, but I'm not sure I do. I guess if we're here and DJ's missing, we can quickly look at defense at the same, using the same uh, microscope. So if you were on team late round defensemen, I like to think that this is a little bit influenced by the smashes of Josh Morrissey and Eric Carlson and so on and so forth. We just saw a lot of really good seasons from late in draft defensemen. So if you didn't take one until say round 10 or round 11 or round 12, you probably were drafting into those guys who therefore had very strong advancement rates due to their smash seasons. So I don't know that this is like a perfect science either. But it does kind of show just like, hey, don't take 2 defensemen super early in your drafts, because it's just going to be really easy to fill those points later on in drafts. And again, my newsletter, I sort of uncovered some projection based analysis that actually was showing me I was being too dense in my really desire to get a defenseman by round say 12 or 13 with the Chykrins and the Noah Dobsons. When you look at like upside projections via puck luck, there's actually a lot of good candidates that really are going undrafted and could be your, say, Mike Matheson type that wins you a tournament, as well as having decent regular season numbers when they're playing. So, um, in any case, this is all sort of the same general idea. There's really no trend at goalie, which I kind of like. That kind of suits my eye. Meaning, like you could take two goalies super early and really not be totally hampered by it. Once you take three, you're probably sacrificing too much at the wing position and maybe even center to get through. But like it's really sort of clear that like unlike defensemen, where you're just getting absolutely punished for taking 2D in the first handful of rounds, it's really not that big a deal in that, just because I like to think that it's because the starts are so prescribed. Like we know how many starts Vasilevsky's going to have, we know how many starts Sorokin's going to have, Jari, so on. That like there's really only injury considerations and like astronomically poor play considerations that would like hamper their fantasy output. So I think going forward, it's just another thing to keep in mind. Like as long as you're not taking your, all three goalies in the top 8 picks or so, or first 8 rounds, you're probably fine. Like just make sure you don't play zero goalie. It's really hard when you have no guaranteed starts on your roster. But otherwise, you're good. Just like take a couple good goalies. Let's see. Wookie here has a couple things. DJ, are you back? I don't know if DJ's back. Okay, DJ's gone missing. I can't. So I can't put the comments on the screen. That has to be DJ, I guess. But Wookie says a few things. I took from this: get to 7 wings by round 10, and you'll have a 50% advancement rate. Look, I'm not saying you're wrong if you do that. Yeah, DJ can't hear me. That's been made pretty obvious. Yeah, Wookie says Dougie was a late defenseman too. That's actually kind of crazy. Just going back to to the last year and trying to figure out why Dougie was going late. It's honestly maybe a miss on our parts in the Time Machine episode, but that seems kind of obvious in retrospect. And the final one is that Wookie says on the screen here that we're showing the 5th goalie has a very high success rate. Yeah, I don't have counts precisely, but I'm almost certain that's like 1 or 2 teams. Interestingly, like what we found in the structure work, we actually did find that teams that took a ton of goalies, let's see, they had a like, sort of concerningly high advancement rate. Yeah, there were 8 teams that took 5 goalies, and 3 of those 8 advanced to the playoffs. I don't think there's anything to that. Maybe there is, but I personally don't think that's a great strategy. So, but yeah, that's just a super small sample size. All right, this is awesome. Gosh, if only the NHL GOAT could provide any input as to what's going on in the space these days, but I guess we'll just sit here and wait. Maybe DJ should call me on speakerphone and just talk through the phone, and we can just converse that way. Did I do anything else fun? I duplicated that analysis for McDavid teams or for non-McDavid teams. Okay, well, let's see. I don't even remember if I posted this in the Discord or not, but the same thing we were showing before with like advancement rates by rounds. These are specifically non-McDavid teams. So like we see that if you didn't take a center in the first round, among the 11 non-McDavid teams in each draft, your advancement rate was much better than if you had, a Matthews, a McKinnon, or a Draisaitl. But we see a very similar pattern emerge, even for like this late center crowd, where if you're taking 4 centers, even on non-McDavid teams, like if you're taking, no center type builds, it's really hard to, maybe this year it's different because there's options falling into the 10th and 11th round that maybe weren't last year. But basically, if you're trying to take 4 centers super duper late, that didn't really work last year. I'm not sure how many people actually tried doing the super no zero center builds, but just sort of goes to show if you have 3 centers and then pick that 4th, even on non-McDavid teams or particularly on non-McDavid teams, it tends to hurt your advancement rate. For example, if you have 3 centers to round 13 and then just don't pick a center in round 14, your advancement rate ups to 21 and then 22 and then 24 if you're not picking that center. Versus if you're taking a 4th center late, the advancement rates dropped to 18% from 20, 19% from 21, and dropped to 19% from 22 if you took a guy in the very last round. So hopefully that's all clear. Let's see. DJ, testing. 1, 2, 3.
I can, yeah. I have one earphone and I can hear.
Ooh, let's go. It's
I
huge.
just get to switch back and forth. I've every test, it came up like 3 options for the other headphones for them to work, and I tried all 3 of them, and they all made like the testing your headphones work whatever thing. I'm not sure if you've done that, but none of them let me hear you, and that's really what mattered most. I'll listen.
That's fascinating.
Well, I may know what you're getting at.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I won't ask for your impact then, or for your feedback then. But let's get into a draft. What do you say?
I say it's draft time. I'm gonna leave it in light mode so my green screen works well. I'm probably at some point going to switch headphones if I don't hear you for a second. That's why I'm doing. So they have 8% in this headphone, so that seems pretty good.
Okay.
I'm gonna do the entire screen.
We'll see.
We'll
see what happens.
Does the entire screen work best? No, the entire screen doesn't work best. Works best in the other one. Also, I don't have our brand up. Killing us. It works best. I was going to suggest something, and I was. You can say no. Feel free to say no. Would you want to do 2 at the same time?
That sounds like
Is
an
that too
absolutely
crazy?
miserable experience, DJ.
Let's do it. No, I was kidding. We don't have to. I'm just all right.
Okay.
Are you ready to drop?
Yeah, let's drop.
We just do 1. That's fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
just 1. I'm entered. Oh, fuck. I got into the last one. All right, I'm doing 2 drafts.
No way.
I'll
It
join.
was really the last one.
I'll join.
That's pretty funny. All right, overflow draft.
All right.
Wow.
This
Only
is where
Matt's
boys
going to be
become
drafting 2
men.
at the same time.
Oh God. Okay. Well,
Okay.
I was just
okay,
trying
yeah. I like it. I like it like this for just in case I want to look up anything. Yeah, then I can look it up.
Hold on.
We can see
Do you want me to share now that I have both drafts?
I actually kind of do. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Let's
do it.
Let's see that. All right. So in the, I don't even know. Do we call it the overfill draft? I don't know how many people. Well, let's see if the first draft are in is a friends and family.
Okay. Well, we were supposed to let Paul know too. I'm not sure if you knew.
My dinger team in the semifinals is in first. 6 days to go till I make the finals. That's fun. All right, so share screen. Sorry, what? Oh, I mean, it's not definite, but man, I've had a really good start. I'm up by like 50 points right now, which is totally losable, but okay. I'm just dragging things onto the same tab, and now let's share it. Oh boy, I think I'm on the clock.
Okay.
Oh God, I'm on the clock. Oh, look at that.
I'll pull it up.
All right. I get Austin Matthews.
No, 1-3.
Yeah. Wait. How far?
You do that. Yeah, I'm gonna.
I don't know.
That's probably way too far. But well, did you enter the draft?
Yeah, I'm in the draft.
Yeah, I guess you did.
There's
it's just weird because like it's not like full screen because you have all those extra stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm asking around.
Okay. So let's see. In the draft that DJ didn't make, we have Belks, again Lafire, Peterson, Layla. I recognize Joda. I'm not sure if they're in here, but it doesn't look like it's a full-on friends and family draft. I think we just got good, or bad timing. So yeah, please, if you're watching, make sure you're joining this overflow draft so that DJ can draft along with us. DJ, did you put it in the Discords?
No, I didn't do that yet. I'll do that Discord.
Right.
I invited the Gen Den.
Okay. Yeah, this is a code red.
Hoping.
We need to get a draft going, or else DJ will actively start talking about his football slow drafts that he's on the clock for.
They're not slow anymore.
Well, I mean, they're hour clocks.
Did you see? Yeah. No, they're 10 minutes now. DraftKings went from 8 hours
Right.
to 10
They're
minutes
10
to
minutes.
24 hours.
Did I not tell you this was going to happen? Get in the damn overflow draft, people. Please. I'm begging you.
You started this.
I will take no such responsibility.
Did you even join?
What are you talking about? You've seen 7 times that I have joined this draft.
Oh.
Like, you've literally commented on it at least 3 times already. I don't know what else to do.
We're waiting on 6
to
now.
show you
We're already halfway there.
All right. Waiting on 6. Thank you, people, for popping in. Right now, I'm sitting on Austin Matthews at pick 3.
Paul's in the first one.
Yes. And by the way, I have my rank set on Underdog through the first like 65 to 70 picks. So that's why you're seeing the ADPs out of order. Basically, I've done this just so that, like, if God forbid I forget that I joined the draft and it starts, during the workday or something, at least I'll sort of get players that I want. I kind of push down centers on my board. Now, maybe relative to ADP, some of them have shifted around and whatnot, but it saved me a few times where I've gotten, wings early. That's sort of like the underdog release valve that just saves me when I have these ranks set. So that's why you're seeing some, out of order rankings versus ADP, and also like, Timo Meyer, I have 0% of. Like, it's not that like I love him more than Willie Nylander, but like if I'm auto drafting, I'm fine to take him versus, like whatever. It's not like a perfect ranking system. It's just like let's just try and move centers down the board so I don't get 3 of them in 5 rounds and so on and so forth. So I'm about to be up here at 22. See what goods he takes. He's probably going Kyle Connor, but I'm going to happily grab either Kyle Connor or Igor. He takes Vasilevsky. So at pick 22, I'll take Kyle Connor. And then I'll grab a goalie here between Ottinger, Shesterkin, or Georgiev. 6 more in the overflow. Yeah, maybe this is all a big ploy from Big Underdog to make sure that there's enough people in the draft that will give DJ the 101. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Oh. Oh my God. I'm getting a phone call. Oh, stop. Okay, good. Yeah, this is I'm bored.
Yeah.
I do have a lot of slow drafts going. Are you going to do 0 slow drafts?
Yes, I'm going to do 0 slow drafts. I could not imagine.
Are you soft?
I literally cannot imagine wanting to do a slow draft.
Look at that view. Look at that view. Beautiful view. You're always on the clock. Not really.
Absolutely a miserable experience. Let's see. In this range, if you're looking at
it's 8. Okay.
I don't know how zoomed in to be. I feel like an absolute noob on stream. I feel like can you stack our pictures on top of each other instead of side by side? Like our videos?
You have, I guess.
Okay. How come it can overlay my...
Okay.
Oh, wait. Never mind. I'm just stupid. I figured it out. I just had to minimize the...
I can create overlays too, but I'm not sure if you'll see it or not. If I click this button, will it take us all off screen? Can people still see the screen? Can you still see it?
I can still see it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Wait.
Try
I
this.
need this bar. Okay. I need this bar because I need to see if I'm on the clock in
It
these
looks
drafts.
fast.
All right. So scrolling through
Actually,
some
I
of
don't know what would look fast. I don't know. Because I can make layouts. So like, where would you want our cameras?
I feel like over on this
Use
on
your
the
mouse.
like yeah, okay, right here. But like
There. Okay,
instead
right
of
there. Let me try
putting
it.
the screen to the instead of putting the screen to the right of our photos, just superimpose it over this edge where there's nothing going on between the edge of this toolbar or whatever the tab bar and the edge of the player card.
Okay.
Set a
I'm
Steam
gonna
app
try it.
below. Yes. Yeah, I have Steam. While we wait, I guess we need two more, by the way, for this draft. I've played some Counter Strike. I I have a MacBook Pro, so I tried Counter Strike on the Mac, like the old Counter Strike, not CS2, which is not out on Mac yet, as far as I know. But I just had so many performance issues that I don't think are related to the laptop itself, but just to my settings that I didn't really play it much. I think we can see the games I've played, like hours wise, because I played a lot of games like in high school and so on. Um, See, I'm such a Steam noob, I don't even know like how to get here. Or how to see this, but like I've played Civilization for hours and hours and hours. Yeah, 1,000 hours of Civ 5. I played TF2 for about 400 hours. That was like a high school game. And then Civ 6. So yeah, these are the games I've played. No, I do not need to get a PC. I've had one. I have a work PC laptop. I just it's so much better having an iPhone or an iPad to just be able to use those as extra screens and whatnot. They just talk to each other very nicely. So um, yeah, I'm happy with the MacBook Pro. I just need a gaming PC. But maybe one day, I have a PS5 now, so I just play games on there. All right, I am about to be on the clock with Matthews, Cal Connor, and Jake Ottinger. We need one more for the overflow draft, by the way. So please, someone get in there so that DJ can feel something again. Looks like Eric Carlson might fall to me at pick 46. That's remotely interesting just because, I have. Oh, nope, he goes. Okay. But the thinking there was I
Is
have
this
so
layout
much
better, by
Evan
the way? I
Bouchard.
can make our screens bigger. Oh,
Yeah, I
cool.
think you can make
Ah,
the
we
screens a
agree.
little bit bigger, but that's pretty good. All right, I'm
Make
going
us.
to
Yeah.
grab
Okay. Yeah, I can still do that.
Cole
What the other
Caulfield.
draft build?
Okay. Cool. Oh my God, the 102 and DJ gets the 103. Okay. All right, here we go. All right. So I grab Cole Caulfield to get my second wing. We'll see if Dougie makes it back to me here. I'm fine taking Dougie at 51 just because, again, I have so much Evan Bouchard, mostly with like McDavid's and Dreisaitl's and just sort of as like my safety blanket defenseman. I don't think Dougie's a significantly worse pick than Bouchard, but I do think Dougie has a bit of Luke Hughes risk. So when I take Dougie, it's usually after ADP. So I'll take him rather than like a Jeff Skinner. I have a ton of Skinner, Marchand, Kreider, Dubois. So like I'm not really chomping at the bit to reach for those guys when a very clear value in Dougie is sitting there. And this other draft is on the clock. I will happily grab Austin Matthews at 2. I think he's a clear number 2 in fantasy. He was, in my opinion, he's the only guy who can outscore Connor McDavid full stop. There's really, I just don't think there's an argument that barring injury, Draisaitl outscores McDavid. But if McDavid gets hurt, Draisaitl's not going to be a good pick. So that one sort of just goes down the drain. And Nathan McKinnon, quite simply, is not a goal scorer. And I think you're just going to need to be able to score goals to beat Connor McDavid. So when I get the 102 or the 103, if Matthews is there, I'm clicking Matthews. If we get like to the start of the season and like Matthews is absolutely smashing in preseason or something like that, I would maybe go back to the well on taking Matthews at the 101. Probably not. Like McDavid's just so good, so supernova. But I do think it's a genuine, concern that McDavid just sort of reverts back to the past first player that he has been. Keep in mind that Vander Kane missed a lot of the year last year, and if McDavid plays on Evander's line, like yeah, McDavid's going to get his offense for sure. But that sort of shot generation from last year came out of absolutely nowhere based on McDavid's profile. So I would say that Matthews has a ton of upside for where he's priced, and that McDavid's, obviously at the 101, you're at the ceiling. But just sort of last year's output was so transcendent that I don't really know that that he repeats that. So I like Matthews a ton. He's such a goal scorer and a rate shooter and a point producer on a loaded team that like I have no problem grabbing him. All right, DJ, you took Leon Draisaitl. Was there any consideration?
I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty indifferent.
Okay.
I mean, they're the exact same exposure right now, and that's where I want to keep them. So I just think like the odd, like it's sort of the same theory I had about Jamar Chase. If we want to get back to football again, I know you do. It's like, I can get him more later because I have like a better chance of getting 1 or 2 than like, so like right now I have a better chance of getting 3 or 4 and getting McKinnon when he generally goes, and people are just actually more likely to, I've seen Draisaitl still get taken 2. I just don't think he's going to get, downgraded to 4. People are just super duper high on him except for you. And I get why, just because of the goal scoring and like, I mean, and he won last year. You know what I mean? Like it's, I think people will also remember the teams at the top all had Leon because he went unbelievably hot in the finals, and he can do that. Well, any of the 4 can do that, and I think your argument's very valid, and we shouldn't work off just last year, but all 4 of them are, in my opinion, clearly above all the rest. And I get Pasternak to an extent, but yeah, I think that all makes sense.
Yeah, just looking at
also, did you notice the tire change I made on my? Did you notice the earphone change I made? I'm not sure if you noticed. It was so smooth.
The earphone change and your videos.
Yeah, the one died in this year.
Oh, okay. I did not notice that. That's funny.
Yeah.
I just went full
I had
screen
to
on
change
our
it in a
video.
way. Like what?
Yeah, GA, you joke, but man,
it says
so
that
nice.
our things are the same.
What do you mean? Our things are the same?
No,
DJ, I don't care about the technical aspects of
looking at. I don't hear you right now.
I'm trying to engage with our audience, DJ. You can work on your producer stuff on your own time. Oh God! Oh no, not this again. All right, looks like I'm running the show. All right, GA, you joke, but it's such a godsend in DFS specifically when you pay $9K for Austin Matthews and he gets the 4 blocks in the first period and does nothing else the rest of the day. You just sit there with your 8.3 or 10.2 or whatever it is when he gets a couple shots in there. It's such a nice like little safety blanket. Like it sucks, you're gonna lose, but it's so much nicer to know that you actually got those shots in. All right, I'm on the clock here. I got Kyle Connor. I'll take some Nick Allers. Just Marcia, so I much prefer, of course, based on my 36% exposure to him. But I just don't think Allers has the floor or really the role guarantee that Marcia so does, alongside Jack Eichel. In this draft, I have Austin Matthews. Let's see what DJ did. DJ took Willie Nylander right before the Matthews guy, so that's very useful. So I will happily grab a goalie. I think Sorokin is the best goalie. I think he and Vasi really are almost indecipherable. But I think Sorokin is just a tad bit better. So when I get the chance, I take Sorokin, and we'll see if that sort of flips as the draft season goes along. Gosh, I have no Roman Yossi. Look at this. So 69th draft this is. I'll take some Roman Yossi. I don't like taking D this early on principle, but I want some of the guy who's an absolute smash monster. All right, what pick are we at? We are at pick 75. Marchessault makes it back to me. Okay, so I'll take him. Now I have
Easy. Yeah.
Matthews, Connor, Eller stacked. I can hear you, DJ. Cole Caulfield, Marchessault, Dougie, and Ottinger on this team. DJ, you cap things off with Vasilevsky. So you started off Draisaitl, Nylander, Vasilevsky in the overflow draft.
Yep. I think that like Nylander's lined up with Draisaitl because of Matthews and him flopping. But I didn't really feel like I had much of a choice there at winger. It was like him or Gensel, and I just think that Nylander's a little bit better than Gensel at this point. So whatever. I'm not force that kind of if I don't need to. And I was hoping to get really any of the 3 goalies and or maybe Yossi, but I would have rather had a goalie there. So I'm glad you didn't go boss goalie. I just say like, screw it, Sorokin and Vasilevsky. I don't know why I thought you were going to do that. I was like, oh crap, he's going to take both, isn't he? But
yeah, I've
not
done it. When I take 2 goalies, I still want to get a third, which is sort of why I don't think I'll do it more than a couple times. I do think it's a viable strategy though to take like a Yossi Dahlin start and just take 2 defensemen. So I've played with that before. Well, I guess I haven't played with Yossi specifically. I'm drafting him in that sort of build, but just in general, the two defensemen starts I'm okay with. Just sort of saying like these are the 2 guys and they have such high upside. I don't need a third, so I'm going to use that on the wing capital that I basically lose when you do something like that. But yeah, in any case, Layla gets a Boldy at 34. This guy has been on a meteoric rise through the draft rankings.
Yep.
He's now at pick 39. I'm glad I got my shares early because, boy, it's getting pricey in here.
Yeah, I think
honestly,
it's just kind of the 5 tool. No, go.
Sorry, I was just going to say, honestly, I'm part of that reason because when it gets to that range, when he's at 34 and he's sitting there, he's the only viable wing most times, unless you want to reach for a Forsberg or a Gaudreau, so like one of those guys. So like Boldy's sort of just the natural guy that I'm reaching for in the 3rd round when I want a wing. So like I get why his ADP is there, and I'll probably still just keep drafting him, but there's a lot of projection going into his sort of like ascension as a player that we just haven't really seen it from him in terms of being a top tier fantasy asset the way that the rest of the sort of 30 and above players have been.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was gonna say it's kind of the 5 tool nature of him too. It feels like he can kind of do it all. Like he may actually block shots. He may be seemingly going to hit. It's kind of feels like the upside is really, really high on him, and I get it. I've been drafting a little bit more at that turn as well for the same reason, depending on the draft you're in, depending on how many wingers go early. But just knowing how important it is to get wingers early, I'm just kind of taking him over Bedard right now. It's like I think Bedard's absolute ceiling is going to be about the same as Boldy, maybe not even but not even probably, honestly. So in year 1, so I just think it's like, why take a center there when I can take a wing that I think is likely going to outscore Bedard anyways, and I need a position. So
yeah, I mean, I think the positional. Well, I think it's insane to say that Bedard doesn't have the ceiling of a Matt freaking Boldy, but just a positional, like you have Draisaitl
in year 1.
I don't.
I think in year 1, it's not that bold to say in this format to say that Matt Boldy could outscore Bedard. I mean, it's not crazy to say he could outscore him. Bedard's upside is higher than Matt Boldy's if we're taking both. I'm just saying like how I'm projecting them. I don't think he's going to outscore him, if that makes sense. So,
I mean, sure, you could say that the median outcome is better for Boldy.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point I'm making. I'm going to take Evander Kane. It correlates, but I'm a believer in Evander Kane again. I'm going back to the well. If he plays 80, this feels like we're taking the Erik Karlsson type of play again, just a lot earlier. Although, it's a winger, it's more valuable. But like the upside of Evander Kane is just astronomical. I mean, he is probably not even like a major injury away from, potentially will hit everything. So yeah, you're on the clock in I believe at least one right now.
I'm on the clock in both. Yeah,
if not both.
I I can get Marchand. I'm happy to do that. I desperately need wings, and of course, being an MSP draft, Bedard and Benedict are just sitting there, tempting me. All right, I will grab a Kempy share. I don't love drafting a center, slightly ahead of ADP when I have Matthews, but these wing options are just kind of gross. I'm already bookmarking DeBrusque for my next go around in this lobby to go with Marchand. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I like Adrian Kempe for sure. He's very good, and so I'll probably just wait till round
He's a
16 to get
winger.
my third center. Well, yeah, that too. Maybe they'll change him before day one.
We can only pray. Yeah, I ended up going with Demko. I just decided, screw it. I'm gonna lock up Bully now, rather than force in a second center. So I felt pretty good about my start. Demko is a little bit early there, probably, but the peak season out of Vancouver is him backstopping them and being probably a top 25 player. So I'll go with it. I think he's just a better option than Olmark, honestly, straight up. But they're both fine, and I get why Olmark. I just haven't drafted a ton of him because I just think that like the projectable start number for Demko is unbelievably high.
Yeah.
The only reach I thought
Olmark.
about was Line A, and then I thought,
Yeah, Olmark's gameplay number is just gonna be so disappointing. That like he literally needs to recreate last year's ridiculousness and ward off Swayman a bit more to even be like remotely in consideration, among these top tier goalies, and that's just so unlikely given the departure of Bertrand and Krejci and even Bertuzzi and Orlov. Like the team just got so much worse that like it's going to be very hard for any goalie to have success there, and especially one being drafted this high is just it's going to be so hard to reproduce that season regardless of what happened in front of the net. So yeah, like I get why you reached for Demko. I personally prefer Samsonov. I think we see I have 8% Demko and 23% Samsonov. So I just I'm taking.
I think I mean if that like straight up you like Samsonov more. You're saying?
Yeah. I think they have a very similar ADP. Don't
I
they?
think I'm
60 and 60 and 66.
Now they do.
Okay, so Samsonov goes slightly later, I guess, which is interesting. But yeah, I think Samsonov
he was.
is.
I'm 25%.
I think Samsonov just has the lion's share of the net for a far better hockey team. And I think part of the narrative that the Leafs are bad defensively just still sort of I don't understand why Samsonov doesn't go in the upper, like 10 picks ahead of where he goes even now. Like I just feel like part of that is because the stupid narrative that the Leafs only score blah 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 when like they're one of the best defensive teams in the league year in year out nowadays because they've given up their offense in part to focus on defense. So it's just one of those things. I love the team. I think the player's gonna get a ton of starts. So all right, what were you saying?
We've driven up his price quite a bit. I'm still way higher in Samsonov. I think it's like 32, 33% Samsonov to 25% Demko. But I think you're absolutely splitting hairs between the two of them because it seems like there's an easier path for Samsonov to lose starts. But I don't think like it's a better team in Toronto. I don't think that's really that arguable. So yeah, pretty even for me. I'm about to be on the clock.
Absolutely insane
In this one.
Look, I'm just getting caught with
I just can't believe how correlated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God damn.
Samuelson just auto picked the Foley. Interesting. Man.
Oh, what am I doing?
What do I can't even see my team right now because it's behind my laptop. Okay, it's that, right? I think I'm gonna just go with Steelers. Why not play that game again? I love that game of drafting Ehlers and crying.
Boy, oh boy. All right, I will grab Tristan Ajari. And gosh, that's gross. Okay. Yeah, I took Shea Theodore in the other one.
Yeah.
I almost clicked on Zach Werenski, and then I looked myself in the mirror and said, "Dude, just what are you doing? You gotta make Shea Theodore
Be a
number
man.
go up." So we make Shea Theodore number go up. That is about 45%
Wow.
Shea Theodore. I just don't understand how he still goes in the pick 100 range. Just makes no sense for a guy
on the
who.
clock and both.
Yeah, I'm on the clock. This is awful. I'm not having fun. Okay, Jared McCann.
I just can't believe you're on the like.
God, I gotta take away. Oh, Arturi Lehkonen. Okay, thank you. I'm looking to get my Lehkonen shares up because he's sort of like the last wing that I feel super duper confident in. Okay.
Am I frozen? What the hell? Okay.
All right. Wookie wanted Jari to fall. Sorry, bud. You're talking to the guy who I'm pretty sure started the Jari God run. Like the second DeSmith got traded, it was just like all aboard the Jari train. He was picked like 110 and he got a huge deal. They got rid of his backup. So yeah, I just think the Jari run is totally warranted, and this ADP makes perfect sense to me. Even if the team's not that good, I just think he's locked into starts there. So yeah, that you know all this, but just saying things as they come to mind now because my brain is mush trying to do 2 drafts at once. DJ, this was a terrible idea, even though we didn't do it because you said it. I feel like you said it and you caused it to happen in some way.
I mean, I do it all the time. Like, it's really not that hard. You haven't missed a single pick or even been close. It's not that big of a deal.
Wait, what are you talking about? How on earth do you draft multiple hockey drafts at the same time? They take an hour to fill.
Well, that's a good point with hockey. But I'm thinking football. I mean, I did 15 drafts at once for football like a couple days ago. That was bad.
You're not actively talking about it and interacting with chat, and like, of course I can do multiple football drafts at once. Like, I'm not like I keep a running spreadsheet of all the teams I pick from and have like the correlation matrix set up so that like they highlight certain teams I could target. Like I keep that going for like 4 different drafts simultaneously. I get how to do
lose
it,
to me,
but I can't speak to people like while doing it. It's just, I don't have that sort of 2-tiered brain solution where I'm able to get those thoughts out of my head. All right, let's see.
All right, I'm on the clock in my last pick in one of these drafts here on the old DK.
Ben Shelton up a set on Tiafo. I'm missing that match for you guys.
I don't know who any of those people are. I'm scared.
Yeah, because you're stupid. They're very good. They're both
wrong.
American, and they're in the quarters of the U.S. Open for guaranteeing a semifinalist from the U.S., which is pretty rare for the men.
Yeah, right. No, I love that. You tried to talk me into tennis today a little bit. You're like, it's the best sport that's not hockey going. And I was like, huh, seems like a take, but okay. Oh, Tutu Atwell still there? That seems easy. I have 2 left, and I've hit 100 on DraftKings, and I'm done.
Oh, what do we do down here? All right, so we're late in the draft on this secondary one. Not super overexposed to any particular players. Doesn't look like Brock Besser 12.5, Vijmelka 12.5. Then we get the Justin Falk. He came up in the newsletter. Sort of, I think he's like my 7th or 8th highest owned player.
Yep.
Just because that's sort of where I think defense falls off. Now, again, I talked about the upside projections from Puck Luck really show that a lot of these dudes hold some merit. I think Ekblad's a guy that if we get better injury news than we have right now in training camp, I think he should be a pick if he's going to play, say, all but 3 weeks of the regular season. As soon as he starts to miss like a month, then I'll be a bit more concerned. But But Matheson, of course, we talked about sprinkling in some Drysdale, some Spurgeon. I think I want to get some more Spurgeon. He's just a rock solid player, does it all in terms of blocks and shots. And he's a good point producer. He's a good puck mover. And there's an outside shot. He gets power play run. They really love Addison as a power play point man, but they just don't trust him at both ends of the ice. So he could lose some ice time and some power play time specifically if he gets healthy scratch, for instance. I'm on the clock in 1, looking at a rather limited center pool, which I don't really care about. Talking about wings, I could try to set up a Anders Lee, Brock Nelson type garbage, which I feel like I do a lot, but seeing as I have 4.5% Lee, I don't think I do all that often. So I'll see if I can get that going. Yeah. Does anyone else have this issue where the draft doesn't follow along? I don't know why it does that. Like I just get stuck.
I don't know why it doesn't do that either. It does it on the phone, but on the computer, it's pretty poopy. God, this is brutal.
What's up? What's up, Tony?
Like this at all, but
thanks for dropping in. If you're new, I don't recognize the name, so appreciate it.
He was out. He asked me if I want to join some slow drafts, and I'm like, buddy, it's fast drafts time. Let's go. Anyways, I just took Montour. Every single winger I wanted, including Troy Terry, goes before 100, and I was like, I guess it's time. The defense is just beckoning.
All right, I'm at 6 wings. I'll grab Riley Smith. Let's see, Horvat, Nelson. See if one of those guys makes it to me for the Lee finish. And it looks like I have Ottinger, Bobrovsky in goal. I don't know. Copley. Oh, I'm on the clock. Front row.
8 seconds.
Oh, boy. I don't even know what pick number we're at. Oh, my God. We're really late. Victor Hedman? Sure. I'll do it. How many picks are we? Jesus. 30 picks past ADP people. Victor Hedman? Did he die? Did I miss it?
Yeah. I was really between taking Hedman and Montour. I feel like it's, we might miss some Montour time, but I think he just has a higher ceiling. And I'm going to take the guy that's actually the first power play in Tampa and take Sergachev after Hedman.
Yeah, I don't think there's too much separating Hedman and Sergachev. So ADP wise, like I would definitely take Sergachev more than Hedman in a vacuum. Let's see, Sergachev, I have 5%, and Hedman, I have the exact same number. So I'll probably wind up a bit more on both guys just because I have a lot of Kucherov. I take Kucherov when I get late picks, but prayers up, I just don't get any more late picks because I'm on a pretty good run of getting 101s and 102s, and even Matthews 103. Feels like an absolute win the last handful of drafts I've done. So yeah. Oh God. All right, so recapping where I'm at in the MSP draft, the overflow draft with DJ. I took Matthews at 2. I have Cole Caulfield, Brad Marchand, Jared McCann, and Jake DeBrusk at wing, so getting that Marchand DeBrusk mini. I have Roman Josi and Victor Hedman on defense. Obviously, Josi being an early investment, and then similarly early investment in Ilya Sorokin in goal to go along with Tristan Jarry. DJ. You are looking at Draisaitl and Eichel. Draisaitl stacked up with his teammate, but maybe not line mate, Evander Kane. We'll see how that shakes out. Nylander, Nick Ehlers, the aforementioned Brandon Montour, Mikhail Sergachev D pairing, and Vasilevsky and Demko in goal. So the Jack Eichel pick, quite interesting, getting him 13 after ADP. Just a very tacit admission that Leon Draisaitl can't carry a team on his own and needs a superstar center alongside him. So, hey.
You figured it out.
I figured it out.
I'm not gonna, it is funny, like how much harder it is to get, like the construction that I want from like a 1, 2, 3, 4 spot, just because like it feels like everyone that loses at center in that top four knows they have to win wing by so much, and we're in like smart drafts. Just looking at like GA and Jota, just like really, I mean, really, everyone in this range is just eating all of the good wingers, and then I wait for anything to get back to me, and it's like, oh, not once again, no. I guess I have to, struggle to take someone here, and it's just like, man.
Yeah. Do you have a response
really
to GA in the chat?
My response is, I think my headphone just died, but also my response to what he said. Can you hear me?
If you said something, you cut out.
Oh my god,
so
I can't hear you. This is it's back.
Okay, well,
what I'd say to the Eichel Sergachev thing is, can you hear me or not?
I can hear you. Yes.
Oh, you're on the clock. Oh, you're on the clock. I'm sorry, you made a noise. No, like Eichel
sorry.
and the Sabres. I mean, is it like the Eichel Sergachev? Like, I mean, like Eichel, Sabres, Sergachev should have been drafted by the Sabres. I don't even know if I'm getting it actually.
Look at his team. I'm guessing you sniped him on those two.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. You pull it up. You're sharing the screen.
Oh yeah.
I'm not. I don't care about correlation.
Marchessault and Kucherov. There you go. Yep.
Yeah, I don't care about correlation. What?
The vaunted.
I was thinking of it the Sabres thing.
Yeah.
Because
that's
everyone in Buffalo still is like, oh, we took Nylander and we should have taken Sergachev. I don't think Sergachev was gone. I don't even know now. I'm guessing he wasn't, because that was always been a talking point, and then Eichel, the whole thing. But it doesn't really matter when you're getting rushed at winger.
For my final selection, I have Cole Caulfield. So I'll take either Drew Doughty or Matheson. If those guys fall to me, that's fine. I'm up in 2. I have a 1-4-2-2. DJ, I think, is on the clock. Nope, almost.
I'm up next.
Samuelson really letting this clock run. There we go.
I think more Lucas Raymond in round 10 like a freaking idiot. I don't like it here.
That's bold. All right, so I have.
I don't like it.
Or I have Caulfield. I just think I got to keep piling up on Artturi Lehkonen. I saw everything last year I wanted to see from him. As far as the role without Nazem Kadri, I just think he dealt with injuries to the point where he didn't have a smash fantasy season. But I think if he's healthy, Lehkonen will be an absolute monster in the, on that team with Nate McKinnon, and ideally playing top power play with Landeskog still on the LTIR for the season. All right, I will grab my second center, get Jordan Kyrou. Just, Kempe and Kyrou. I'm totally fine taking either of those guys when they're falling 20 picks past ADP. I have Kempe in my other Matthews draft that's actively going, so just spacing up a small amount. All right, Matheson goes in this lobby. I want to see if we have any fun builds brewing in the initial draft I was in. We have Hockey Man drafting 4 centers: Bedard, Zibanejad, Stamkos, Larkin, and 4D Sergachev, McAvoy, Nurse, Werenski. Hero goalie Linus Ullmark to go with Cam Talbot. Yeah,
not a lot of starts.
Not sure that Brady, Mitch Marner, Matheson, Hartman, and Duclair is what I want at wing. But hey, let's see if Goodsey has him beat, because Goodsey went 5 centers: Draisaitl, Crosby, Eichel, Scheifele, Matty Beniers. You just got to get that Beniers ceiling in there. With Tarasenko, Lucas Raymond, Mark Stone, and Michael Bunting. Jesus. And then 4D.
I think he lost at Wig.
Carlson and Morgan Riley. Yeah. This guy misread the score 2 wings per week as score 0 wings per week, it seems, because there is no guarantee any of those guys are still playing in the 3rd month of the year. All right. Let's see.
Yep.
Oh, and Genwax. I feel like we see Genwax. Do they typically build? I mean, Connor McDavid with 5 centers. Good Lord.
I don't recall that name. I don't think they're in the
Yeah.
second
Hey,
one.
hey, don't do
They're gonna.
this.
Yeah,
If
I
you're
don't. That's called that. The thing is, like, they may advance with McDavid, and it's just like they're
yeah.
gonna learn the wrong lesson.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, I'm
Nah,
pretty sure we see that name in the lobby, so I don't know. Maybe
I
maybe they're just an eternal donator, but I don't know. Seems odd.
don't know. I don't
All
know.
right, looking at our draft,
They learned their
DJ,
last
you
round.
took
Yeah,
Petrangelo to pair with Jack Eichel.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it either. Just pull up the board.
Yeah.
It's gonna keep
Okay.
doing that. It's gonna be annoying. Um, yeah, I kind of just locked down 3 defensemen now. Although I wasn't gonna go 2, so I was like, I'm gonna end up getting a third here for sure. So I was like, honestly, this seems like the best pick on the board at this point. Um,
Mhm.
defense is a plenty, and it still is, but I just decided whatever. I'll get a correlation, and I'll get 3 very, very, very high ceiling and very high floor defensemen, if all healthy. Which again, obviously,
Yeah. I'm just panicking a little bit because I once again missed the goalie the goalie parade. Um, God, yeah, Pijamelka going at 120, not what I expected to see. So a lot of my safety blankets late are gone. Cam Talbot going in the 11th round. Yeah, this is a goalie war zone, as they like to say. So, um, just starring a couple guys. Oh God, I'm on the oh Aaron Ekblad. I was just talking about how I wanted to get some more of him if he's gonna play. So maybe he'll play. Whatever.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Dougie Theodore, it could be a lot worse with like the last
Yeah,
pick in the draft to get. I mean, I would have taken it myself. Honestly, though, Jamie Drysdale and like projecting very, very well going into next year. I think that would have also been just fine.
yeah. The lack of a guaranteed role for Drysdale really has me worried. I'm reading more and more chatter that Zellweger and Mintyukov could compete for jobs, and with Cam Fowler still in the mix, I'm just not convinced that Drysdale's really featured on that team. So I'm probably going to wait till further notice to keep drafting him. Obviously, I have a few shares. I really like the player, but he doesn't profile to be like a fantasy monster. Like he's never going to be a Shea Theodore where he's top 5 in points per 60 and shots per 60 and just needs a bigger role. With Drysdale, it's far more likely he's of the Cam Fowler mold where he plays a lot and he's a good, impacts wise defenseman, but he's not going to shoot a ton. And if he doesn't have that key number 1 power play time, then yeah, you're kind of a SOL as far as he goes. So I'm not biting into that risk personally. Had I had my wits about me, I probably would have just taken Hampus Lindholm, but let's see. Let's not make that same mistake here. And gosh, another. Of course, it's a war zone. You know what? Anthony Duclair in round 12. I mean, sometimes you just gotta live a little.
Yeah, don't love any of it, but this is the cards we've been dealt here. Um, okay, well, Bunting in round 13, man, Duclair and Bunting have moved up quite a bit from the originally where they were going undrafted.
Yeah,
What are you thinking here? I mean,
I'm thinking the arsenic.
yeah,
I will just, you know what? No, nice is way too thin.
take a
I'll
goalie here
take
in a
another.
second.
I'll take another Jacob Vrana.
I'll
I'm
take
gonna
Tom
have
Wilson
way
off
too
your
much
hands
Jake
then.
Vrana, but yeah, please, please, you can have him.
I'm gonna have way too much Tom Wilson. Actually, any would be too much. No, I don't. I mean, I think he's fine. Like, there's again, like, I'm not taking him because he's gonna score every week, but there will be weeks when he scores for me because he scores freaking, has a 1-2 goal game and has 18 hits, and it's like whatever. So I'm not. I think there's upside there. Obviously, I mean,
Yeah,
he has
if
skill.
hmm, all
Dude,
of these
he's
are
played
where
with Ovechkin in
formal
the past. Like,
sentences.
I just don't get like
Yeah,
legitimately saying he's not useful at all in this
Ovechkin's not
world.
creating offense for anyone anymore. Like he's creating offense for himself. Like, I'm not naive enough to think that Ovi's out here like elevating the players around him. Like he's like the
Yeah,
definition of a
I mean,
user. Um, so I don't know. It's just like that
Honestly,
team.
the more I think about it,
Like,
it kind of just feels like I'm drafting Lawson Krause.
that's honestly
You know,
pretty accurate.
yeah. I
Really,
don't know. I mean,
you're
I'm gonna
betting
just have
like,
my exposure and move on, but
yeah, you're just betting on the fact that he stays healthy and continues to hit a ton of people. Like that's that's the upside you're
mhm.
getting. It's not that he's it's not that he's incompetent offensively, but it just seems like his offense has gone off a cliff. He's old. Like, yeah, they just paid him a lot, but like that doesn't mean he's going to be better at hockey. Look at this guy that I have freaking queued up in Logan Couture. Like they paid him a ton of money, and guess what? He can still have like pretty lackluster seasons. Because even though he's getting all that money, it doesn't just magically make him a better hockey player. Aging still
All right.
impacts him. So
This
I just think Tom Wilson doesn't
let's
offer a ton of upside. So I'm out on it. Let's see. Mudcat
let me
grabbing
just let me just
Patty
take a look at this.
Kane.
Let me look at this. If he played
I don't know
82
what you're
games
looking
last year, I'm saying like let's just take Tom Wilson last year had 277 points in this format. Okay, 277
at.
points in. I'm going to pull it up again. 33 games, so divided by 33, and then times that by 82. If he stayed healthy for the entire season, that's 688 points in this format.
Yeah,
All
that's
they
pretty good.
It's like I'm not thinking he's going to hit that. I think it's very likely he doesn't hit that. But I think there's upside here above a Lawson Krause. I mean, I know I use that name, and granted, he's also not hit 600 points in the past few seasons in this format. But I think again, like if we're going to stay fully healthy, Tom Wilson clearly going to be a top 6 player, clearly going to have a chance to have an impact on the power play. I hope might not.
Yeah,
And if he
just
doesn't, okay, he hasn't in the past either. He really hasn't been very impactful on the power play. But this is a very bad iteration of this team, so maybe they end up mixing in
yeah.
more. Tough to know for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, really, just the alarm signals went all sorts of off last year when he was healthy. The only reason he produced from a fantasy standpoint is what do you know? He scored 3 or 4% higher than his shooting percentage otherwise should have been based on some XG versus actual goal type analysis. And yeah, just there's a lot of warning bells going off with Tom Wilson. He's the
Sure.
exact sort of player that you would expect to age very poorly, so it's hard to sort of envision like an immediate rebound. But hey, maybe he was just hurt. Maybe he has a year like 1920 where all of a sudden he bounces back and he's perfectly fine. Who knows? But
Wait,
that's sort of
Matt,
the reason.
do you have any defenseman flag plants by chance?
Oh boy. Gee, I wonder if there were a place I could go to really just
Yeah, let's
drive
double
that
check that.
point home. Um,
I don't think I have
let's
any that are like insane, but
Come
yeah,
on, come
you
on,
on
come on,
the
come on,
other
come on,
hand,
come on. Give me it. There we
you
go.
want the one more?
44,
Boom.
44% Shea Theodore, 26 and a half
Yeah.
percent Evan Bouchard, 21% Justin Falk, John Carlson. Those are really the 4 main flag plants. These guys are more just taking them opportunistically. But yeah, Shea Theodore, I've made the point multiple times, but you look at 5-on-5 numbers over the last 3 seasons. Shea Theodore is both a top 5 defenseman in terms of shots on goal per 60 minutes at 5-on-5 and a top 5 defenseman at points per 60 at 5-on-5 per 60 minutes. Like just an incredible offensive player, the exact sort of play we look for upside in fantasy. And the last time we saw him, he was quarterbacking the Stanley Cup winning team's power play. That's about all I have to offer. So, I get it. People like Petrangelo because the blocks and the hits and whatever, and like that's fine. I get it. I just prefer Jake Trouba in that instance. Like, I just think he's a more steady source of those and at a similar ADP, if not a bit later. All right, so I actually managed to get Justin Falk here. I try not to 3-stack these like shitty teams like the Blues, but like Kyrou, Vrana, Falk, if they smash for a week in the playoffs, oh boy, we're doing backflips. But really, it's just a bet on guys who I think are good ADP bets in that range, and not necessarily because I want to place a big bet on the team. It just so happens that Falk fell, 11 picks past EDP, and we're drafting in the vortex that is an MSP lobby with Wings and Jacob Vrana. So,
yeah, but yeah,
right,
my exposures, by the way, while you're doing that, is just I have a ton of Yossi because I was taking him in like every lobby we do was going way later than he is now. I also have a lot of Brent Burns. He's moved up a good bit, but probably to a point of like not drafting him really. And then I have some.
we had
a lot of guys in the kind of the next range, and one of them is
I
Justin
would
Falk as
urge
well.
you.
So
Yeah, I will urge you to check in on the Discord because we had a pretty in-depth Brent Burns conversation today, and let's just say it does not bode well for your Brent Burns exposure, and mine too.
no,
By
I
the way.
know.
We
Yeah,
saw,
I mean, I get it. I get
10%,
it. Yeah.
but the projections are not fans.
I'm telling you, I was 100% only going to take 2 centers, but I think Dylan Cousins at this point, I'm not passing it 50 something picks past ADP. Basically, like I'm doing it. I'm just going to build a 3-7-3-3 probably.
Yeah. So GA's out here flaming the Werenski pick,
what's wrong
which
with,
I find
what's wrong with Werenski? I don't really.
Yeah, basically last year he entirely lost it to injury. But when we're talking about, fantasy defensemen who are in pretty much guaranteed power play 1 jobs, like Werenski's right in there in that mix. Let's see. This is a bad comparison point because why would I just want to compare him to his god awful teammates? So looking at his last healthy season, we're actually looking at a defenseman who is where am I? Shots per 60. Zach Werenski was really high up there as far as just like shot attempts. And then you compare like his hits numbers to this range. That's where he's pretty weak as far as like he's more of the Shea Theodore mold of like he's not going to do a ton for you as far as his underlying floor statistics. We see here the 1.1 and 1.23. It's clearly weak for a defenseman, but there's a very obvious power play job for him. David Juracek is not profiled to be like the can't miss offensive defenseman of the future for them. They went out and acquired, Provorov and Severson. Severson plays the power play, but like, come on, like Zach Werenski is just a far superior player to Damon Severson. And so Werenski's sort of a similar bet to Shea Theodore, though I think a much thinner one personally, which is why I have much more Shea Theodore. In that just he is the monopoly on a resurgent power play led by a superstar in Johnny Gaudreau with a lethal finisher in Patrick Laine. So that's why I think he's a reasonable pick at ADP. But I get it; he's not. He's coming off of an injury. Shoulders in particular, we know of Josh Norris. They're really tough to come back from. But he's just a player that I bet on last year and will continue to bet on this year. Results aside.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
like Jake Bean is not replacing Werenski. If anything, it's freaking Boakfist, and they've wanted to ship that guy out of town for 3 years now. Well, they might maybe just traded for him 2 years ago, but from day one, they've not given Boakfist a chance. So,
yeah. I mean, I think again, like I think it's very simple with Werenski too. It's like, especially when you haven't been drafting a lot of defensemen, it really like it feels like what other guy has the ceiling he has in that range. It's like him and Chikrin, I think, are the guys. You could take some guys like Truba. They're safer players that are, if they're healthy, going to have a floor. But when you've missed defense basically all around, at some point you got to take a swing. And that happens to me, and I'm sure it happens to you because we're not coveting them in other drafts that aren't on stream. So
Werenski does go a decent amount before the Chikrin Dobson range, which is sort of like my last call for defenseman outside of Justin Falk. But like gun to head, if you asked me to pick one for the upcoming season, I would take Charlie McAvoy at 112 versus Werenski at 115 or so. I think McAvoy's game is very much so laden with similar type upside, connected to the Pastrnak power play, but maybe slightly more risk with Lindholm in the fold, with a lot more like the floor stats as far as hits and blocks. So, I prefer McAvoy for sure here, but Werenski's still a guy that I'm happy to be slightly over the field on, but I would not call 12% a stand by any means. All right, almost on the clock to wrap things up here. DJ, you need a goalie. Are you going to take Hakkinen or Montembeau? Please do.
I was gonna not taking a goalie.
He's getting saucy with it.
I'm just gonna take Kakko. There's just no one left.
Thank you for making the decision for me.
Yeah, I know. I really wavered on a lot of guys, and I actually went to the sports book and tried to look up what they had for Montembeau. They don't have him listed. They must just like not wanna. I'm looking again. Actually,
no,
I'm trying to scroll back through.
Didn't they have? Do they not have Casey DeSmith?
No.
Listed? Okay.
Maybe it's Casey DeSmith. I'm looking.
Is it Jake Allen? No, I think it's Jake Allen. I think it might be Jake Allen that they have.
No, I don't see him either.
Oh wow. Okay.
I don't see any goalie listed for them, which I thought was odd. Jake Ottinger, nope. Then it would be no Montembeau, and then Casey. They're in alphabetical order by first name because that's perfect. Casey, none of them. So I mean, I hate Kakkonen, but 15 and a half is over under wins. Hope he has all of them in the finals.
All right. So did we determine whether it was better to look at this or to look at the
click the arrow. Go back to that. Click the arrow. You can make it full screen. No. Go back to the grid.
Okay, I had that up. Is that preferable in this case?
I think so. Okay. But
I don't remember where we landed.
I don't know.
All right.
There's not a perfect way to do it.
All right. So we got the 101 here with the McDavid team right ahead of DJ and I. They grab McDavid and Sidney Crosby and Nugent Hopkins all pretty early. At wing, they have Jake Gensel, Ricard Raquel, little mini stack there. Tyler Bertuzzi, Ryan Hartman, Michael Bunting, Arthur Kaliev, and Jason Zucker. An interesting sort of sprinkling of upside there at the end. It probably just don't take 3 centers this early when you have McDavid, but and I guess I should mention Evan Bouchard stacked with McDavid and Josh Morrissey, along with a late flyer, Devin Tays. I don't really see the Tays argument. It's just like, if anything, his ceiling is getting supplanted by Byram. So just take Byram if my car gets hurt. But I guess he has a pretty good shot from the point, and he does a little bit floor wise, blocks, shots, hits. But I personally don't really see why people are taking him late round. And then Ottinger, Grubauer, Vejmelka. Sure, that's fine. My team: Matthews, Sorokin, Yossi to start. Grab the wing rush with Caulfield, Marchand, McCann, DeBrusque, while picking up Jari between those guys. And then closing things off with the Hedman value that we talked about at length between him and Sergachev, grabbing Lehkonen, Duclair, Vrana to close off the wing room. And finally, Jordan Kyrou as my second center in, 20 spots after ADP. Pair him up with Vrana that I mentioned and Justin Falk. Grab Logan Couture to go with Anthony Duclair to finish up the center room. And a last goalie in Sam Montembeau, who is literally I don't care. I just want a warm body here who maybe will be a starting goalie. DJ, you can take things away, but I think your team will sound pretty similar to mine.
Yeah. I started with Draisaitl, Nylander, Vasilevsky. So only difference there is I went wing where you went D. Vander Kane, Demko. So Demko, Vasilevsky, to backstop, and why I didn't take a goalie for the last pick. Nikolai Ehlers, again, I'm just buying upside, not playing scared here. I'm just saying if he plays 82 games and with PLD out, and I love Velarde, and honestly, Velarde's a center though. It's kind of tough, but I'm hoping Ehlers is consistently power play 1 for the first time, and it finally comes together. I went Jack Eichel, and I was not going to take another center. I didn't want to say it, but I wasn't going to do it. And that means that I finally need a defense. So Montour, Sergachev, Lucas Raymond, and Alex Pietrangelo. Wingers were eviscerated at this point. Brock Besser, Tom Wilson. I already went over it. He could have, if he was on pace for a lot more points last year, if he can outscore as expected again and not fall off a cliff, maybe we strike lightning in a bottle. I mean, last year he also came back from a pretty bad injury last year. If you recall from the playoffs. So I'm optimistic, I guess, a little bit that he isn't going to be a complete dud, but that potential very much exists. I went Pavillier, Pavillier, Besser. I also had Demko, which I didn't really care about, but it's not the best correlation in the world, probably, but I don't know, whatever. Like, we don't really know, and that offense could be explosive with Pedersen leading the way. And then finally, I took Dylan Cousins. I mean, you're going to give me Dylan Cousins in the 15th round.
Yeah.
It's at that point, it's just sort of, man, I'm just taking him. This is kind of like going against what I was saying earlier, but as my third center, I don't really mind. If it was, I wouldn't do it as a fourth. I guess would let someone else win. And then finally, I was going to take Tanner Janot or I was going to take Kakko Kapanen. And I'm like, am I really going to take another, guy that I'm praying can, I guess whatever at that point. I already had Tom Wilson, might as well, but whatever. I took Kakkonen. He might have 0 useful weeks, but that really useful week, again, like I kind of talked about this with last year with Carter Hart and some others, it's like he might see 40 shots a game on average. So if he wins 3 games in a week for some stupid reason, goalies are weird, like he could score for you. And like, I think that's, I'd rather take him than honestly like Copley and, whatever. But Akira Schmid's the guy I'm taking the most here, and someone already had him. I just think that he could take that net for sure myself, but like, I don't know, whatever. He might not. I mean, I think it's not. I'm not flag planting Akira Schmidt by any. I just I am a gambler and I'm gambling, and that gamble is that Vanacek actually isn't good, and they learned that in the playoffs, and they don't trust him, and that Akira Schmidt has the prospect pedigree to take over. Matt, you want to get back to it?
Sure. Let's keep going. So Sam Olsen takes Pasternak over McKinnon. I sort of, again, I mentioned this in my article. If you're tuning in, the Primary Points newsletter, you can find it in the description of this video in your podcast feed. If somehow you just randomly fast forwarded to here, it's in the description there, and it's on my Twitter account. So check out that newsletter where I wrote a bit about some Underdog specific stuff, as well as an introduction to me if you missed it. So anyway, Sam Olsen starts things off with Pasternak over McKinnon. So with that, he goes Pedersen as his number 1 center, UC Saros in goal, Chris Kreider, Zibanejad. Very rare that you see Kreider go before Zibanejad, but that's an MSP draft room for you. Normally, I'm completing that stack the other way around. Tyler Toffoli at the nice 6'9", pick 69. Just the wonderful symmetry there always gets me in 12-team sneak drafts. Jonathan Huberdeau at 76, Bob Levi to close off his goalie room with Staros. That's perfectly fine. We talked about it a bit earlier. Like, investment in goalie doesn't really matter as long as you're not taking them like before round 7. Quinn Hughes, Darnell Nurse, Chris Letang, just 1, 2, 3. There go your defensemen. All right. And then Anders Lee, Lafreniere, Blake Wheeler, and Lawson Krause to close out the draft. So when you're talking Chris Kreider, Toffoli, Huberdeau, Lee, Lafreniere, Wheeler, Krause to go alongside Pasternak, that's an 8-wing build with the 2 centers being Pedersen and Zibanejad. That's basically just trying to throw a bunch of names at the wall and hope that one of them hits with Pasternak and that Pasternak recreates the season from last year. That's a strategy that I fully endorse. I don't think you're losing a ton out, despite, the Dylan Cousins of the world and Boone Jenners and Pavelski's being available that late. I still don't think it's that bad of an idea to just try and make sure you get that second wing score in there. But I get the argument both ways in that, obviously I'm not going to try and tell you that Joe Pavelski's a worse play than Blake Wheeler over the course of the full season. But it's just a matter of the center position being filled with Pedersen and Zibanejad. If not, you're probably screwed anyway. So why not try and get that second wing spot filled? All right, we'll keep going. Nate McKinnon, Makar. Normally we see Rantanen getting stacked with Makar. I wonder how frequent the McKinnon-Makar stack there is for Wookie. But he continues things with Hyman, Gaudreau, Konechny, and Terry, mixing in Samsonov and Vanacek in the mix there. Closes off goalie with Philly Husso. Keeps going on wing with Taylor Hall, Riley Smith. Caps off defense with Jacob Chuba and Noah Dobson to go with his Cal Makar. And then finally grabs an Elias Lindholm and Trevor Zegras to close off his center room And final pick, Teuvo Teravainen. I want to say Teravainen was one of the absolute worst picks you could have made last year of players who were drafted nearly every time. So a bit of a bounce back there for the Wookman. DJ, any thoughts?
No, I like it. I mean, Winger is absolutely decimated in these lobbies, and Teravainen is one of the last guys in. The next draft just filled, by the way.
I just all right, damn. Okay.
Yeah, you just missed it. I tried to alert you by putting it on the screen a couple times, but it filled.
I was not looking. Oh damn! Did I even? Oh wait, no, it's not a different screen.
Yeah,
Or
we are. Yeah, we are looking at. I think by end of day tomorrow, hopefully we'll be at like 5,500 mark. We really might complete the last year's total entries by NFL kickoff. Like I think it's
that's
in
crazy.
range, so I'll be around. Can't say enough about that, but I'll let you get back to it so we can get out of here. My headphones are going to die every 10 minutes probably. So
all right. Artie grabs Matt Kachuk at 6, followed by Igor, Alex DeBrincat, Eric Carlson, Connor Bedard, Adam Fox, Drake Batherson, and then finishes off center with John Tavares and Dylan Larkin to go with his Bedard. Continues wing with my absolute do not drafts of the wing position in Jamie Benn, who just sucks, and Mark Stone, who I literally don't know if you can project more than 50 games played in the regular season for him. But in any case, we transition on to Morgan Riley to pair with John Tavares for a bit of a power play stack, Jordan Eberle, Akira Schmid, and Taylor Radish. I've seen Radish a few times now go in the final round. It's an interesting play. He had some power play success there last year. Maybe he can continue the magic touch with a better power play led by Connor Bedard. We'll see. Again, LaFire, welcome back. I know you joined the Discord recently, but the original Best Puck champion, Mikko, Timo, Andrei Svechnikov, Artemi Panarin, going heavy with wings to start, following it with Braden Point, Stuart Skinner, and JT Miller. Kuzmenko with Miller, an interesting stack. We'll see if those two correlate other than the power play this season. Brent Burns at pick 103. Nico Heischer, Elvis Swayman, Vince Dunn, Oliver Bjorkstrand. So a little Bjork Dunn. Bjorkson Dunn. Would you maybe? Does that work? Okay, no. Rasmus Anderson and Lucas Reichel. Pretty good team. Artemi Panarin is fringe don't draft for me at his ADP, but we're in a wing avalanche room. So while I would have preferred Caulfield, Kane, and Kreider, I understand Panarin's a super good player and has a lot of upside in any given week. So going to Mudcat, Jason Robertson, Tage Thompson, Connor Hellebuck, Jeff Skinner to go with Tage. Got to get that early pick 41 Jeff Skinner in. But hey, I get it. I respect it. And I fully support it. Rupe Hintz, Miro Heiskanen, another mini stack there with, full stack with Jason Robertson too. Tarasenko, Korpisalo, Freddie Anderson, Brian Rust, Evgeny Malkin. Man, a lot of mini correlations here. Jake Chikrin to go with Tarasenko. Okay, sure. Patrick Kane to correlate with, maybe Connor Brown because they just both might not play this year. Connor Brown should play. I'm not saying that. Just, injury prone guy, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think Patrick Kane plays at all this season. Joe Pavelski to cap things off. I mean, Jesus, I guess you just really want that Dallas first power play. To me, that's just an unnecessary selection because how the hell are you getting those four guys all into a lineup without, any of Tage, Skinner, Tarasenko? How is everyone on Dallas scoring? I don't know, but maybe. And then Owen Power because, I guess you got to correlate the Skinner Thompson with a Buffalo guy. Not what I would do, but sure, I get it. Very correlated. So we move on. Kaprizov, Connor, Georgiev, her giant mark, followed by Fiala and Laine, the ideal zero center start, the ideal zero center heavy wing start for me. Those guys I think are all great at ADP. Barkov, Carlson, Nichushkin, Matt Zuccarello, Carter Hart, Adrian Kempe, Zach Werenski, Logan Thompson, Max Pacioretty, Aaron Ekblad, and Boone Jenner. I really have no comments, but so far I think this is my favorite team. Just a really good values and really good players with a lot of profiles that I enjoy. So good team there for Giant Mark. Layla, another zero center build with Kachuk, Stutzla, Boldy, Forsberg. Finally grabs Stamkos in the 5th round, followed by Ulmark, Mo Seider, Sebastian Aho, Brandon Hagel, Victor Arvidsson, Cam Talbot, David Perron, Thomas Shabbat, Fleury, Nazem Kadri, and Sean Dursey. Goalie starts, I think, are very troublesome here between Olmark, Cam Talbot, and Marc-Andre Fleury. You have at best 3 half split guys in that. Maybe Talbot gets a lion's share. I'm not sure. I think the ship has sailed on Marc-Andre Fleury doing that. And Olmark, again, we discussed him. But otherwise, it's a perfectly reasonable, logical team. No real problems other than the possible weakness in goal. DJ, any thoughts on those teams before I wrap things up here?
No, I really like that. Honestly, it's like all of these teams feel really, really good because of all the winger depth that you get in these drafts. They did it right. Like, this is exactly what I talked about last year, and I'll probably repost that article. And I don't know how many updates I really have to drafting when you missed the top 4 centers. Everyone did it right, it seems like. I mean, yeah, I don't really have nothing to add. Right. I'm on the clock in this other draft here.
At 11, Joda starts things off with Jack Hughes, follows it up with Ovi, Clayton Keller, Dougie Hamilton, Jesper Bratt to go with Hughes, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Owen Tippett, Pavel Bushnevich, Binnington, Gibson, Phoenix Copley in the last round. That's one way to play goalie. I'm honestly not sure if Binnington is the guy I trust as my number 1, but I at least respect the effort to try it. Following those picks, Verhaeghe, Charlie McAvoy, Seth Jones, Mangiapane, and Bo Horvat. In a room like this, I think a guy like Nick Schmaltz is an easy target for a Clayton Keller team where you take a center in the 1st round. Like, I personally think that Clayton Keller is overdrafted at his current ADP. Like, it's going to be really hard to reproduce the year he had last year. But if he does, I think Nick Schmaltz is an absolute smash at ADP. Like, there's just no reason to me that Nick Schmaltz would be undrafted while Clayton Keller goes in the 30s. So, like, when I grab Keller, usually it's after ADP, and usually, especially if I have one of these early centers, I'm really just taking Nick Schmaltz in round 16, round 15 to just lock up that sort of mini correlation, because I really like that one. But hey, I understand not taking Nick Schmaltz. He's by no means like a great floor fantasy player or anything. But it's just
did you listen to my fantasy conversation about him, or you just ignored it?
I have not listened to your Arizona one yet. No, just the Anaheim one. So I will check it out.
Yeah, I basically I just reminded people that Nick Schmaltz was very close to a point per game playing with Keller before getting injured, and it's like very easily forgot about. And it wasn't like he was just, I think the concern could be like how good of a rate shooter. I could look into that more. I really didn't get too crazy. Yeah, sort of like, this is your last guy in. I mean, like, what are we doing? So
yeah, that's the rub. I mean, that's why he doesn't get drafted. Nick Schmaltz doesn't. But it's a guy who I think if Keller's the guy you need in the 30s, that like he's so clearly gonna score a bunch of points, like that you don't really need the hits and the blocks and even the shots that Schmaltz doesn't really offer a ton of. Anyway, final team GA here. Leads things off with Kucherov and Mitch Marner. I'm honestly not sure if I've seen Mitch Marner go this early, so that's like normally Marner goes in the 2nd round for sure, but ahead of Connor, Stutzla, Ovi is kind of interesting to me. But in any case, Alex Tuck at the 3-4 turn with Dahlin. Certainly like the Dahlin value there. Gustafsson in goal to go with Kemper and Aiden Hill. Between those guys, he picks up Jonathan Marchessault and Claude Giroux. This is where he then scolded DJ for taking Jack Eichel before he could get to him. And then he grabs Shea Theodore, though, to correlate with Jonathan Marchessault. Easily my number 1 top correlation. Those 2 guys I have loaded into probably a quarter of my lineups, so you're going to see me liking that a whole lot. Mark Scheifele, Eriksson Ek and Marty Nachas, just checking if there's any mini correlations there, but all good values, good, good fantasy players. This is sort of how I would do a late center build for sure. Following up with Matthew Nyes, Jared Spurgeon, and Marcus Johansson. Johansson, Spurgeon with Eriksson Ek, I think that's fine. The Matthew Nyes with Marner in particular seems a bit thin. I don't know if there's a path to Nyes taking that job over Tyler Bertuzzi. It kind of seems like they found Bertuzzi to be the bunting replacement on the Matthews Marner line, but maybe they go to Matthews, Nylander, and Marner slips down with John Tavares. We'll see. But in any case, it's a perfectly fine bet to make in a room like this where you're getting Jordan Eberle and Jason Zucker going like 10 picks after. It's just kind of whatever at some point in terms of grabbing guys who you think have upside. So yeah, in any case, this is an MSP lobby, so none of the 6 goalies, none of the 7 centers, none of that nonsense like we saw in the first draft that I did on stream. So yeah, round of applause, everyone. You didn't screw it up too bad, in my opinion. So well done, and thank you all for sitting through that, drafting with us, playing along, and commenting throughout the show. DJ, anything you want to add before we get out of here?
No, just I just really proud of like where this sport has already gotten to. It's not going to ever overtake basketball as far as like the actual number of entries, but I think it's on just an unbelievable pace. And if we keep drafting the way we're drafting, we're going to make them give us another contest. So yeah, that's about the main part of it. I do want to say I highly suggest getting into a couple slow drafts if you're sick of these lobbies. If you only come in for these because you don't have a lot of other time, the slow drafts are a lot more forgivable. And I've found myself with the draft we talked about at the very beginning, taking 7 centers before sorry about the clock here, but 7 centers.
7 wings.
Oh my God.
Not
7 wingers.
Centers.
7 wingers and one, I think it was like 1 goalie. No, it was 1 center, 7 wingers, and goalie was I think what you showed. Yeah. But yeah, it was Eichel. It was like, and that team is just turning out awesome. And it's like, it just happens because the slow draft lobbies are a lot different. Give it a go. You're not going to see all the familiar faces, which might be sad. But I would really suggest it. And other than that, keep an eye out. A couple more teams are going to drop tomorrow or the next day for my season previews. We're going to get all of them. And I have an additional Sabres one that I recorded with a couple other guys. So a 30-minute, very in-depth view on the Sabres coming up as well.
Perfect. Because, we know you're always good for level-headed, fair and unbiased Sabres opinion.
He asked for Sabres fans, and I think I actually gave incredibly fair points. Like, Matt, you know what? I'm gonna ask you. Okay, this is gonna be a quick. I'm sure I doubt anyone watching. I said the best bet on the board rather than just because the Sabres are minus 120 to make the playoffs, and I said, I think you just bet Granado at 10-1 to win Jack Adams. Like, if you're gonna bet them to make the playoffs, I was like, I just don't know why you would bet it the other way. Like, oh, Sabres make the playoffs, and the old men in hockey don't say, oh, first time in 12 years they're giving it to him. So I'll give that free piece of advice. And I was actually going to ask you after the show if you place those bets. I don't even know because I don't have it in New York.
I don't know if I've seen it. So
yeah, I haven't seen it. I don't know where I found it. Finish up your piece.
So final plug. If you missed it at the very beginning, I've started a newsletter called Primary Points. By the way, it's mentioned in the article, but please, if you are aware of some piece of media that's called Primary Points in the hockey space, please let me know and I'll find a different name. We had a bit of an awkward situation that, again, I highlighted in here with the Morning Skate podcast, actually, a few years ago that I just want to avoid. So if you're aware of any media like that, please just reach out in the hockey space. But in any case, please find it. It's in the description of the show. It's in the description of the podcast if you're an audio listener, and it's my tweet on Twitter. But please subscribe, just send your email. I'm not asking for any money or anything, just if you feel so inclined to click the links within it or whatever, feel free. But otherwise it's just a free newsletter and more of a sophisticated home for the various ramblings I share in the Discord, on pretty much a daily basis. So expect about once a week, maybe twice a week. But yeah, thank you to everyone who has already checked it out and subscribed and everything else. I'm looking forward to seeing what can come of it. So
hopefully a lot more to
let's
come this season.
get out of here.
Thanks for joining, everyone. Again, thank you, Wookie. Thanks for everyone that jumped in. And the overflow or the post draft. I mean, I got the 0-4-0-2 start that everyone dreamed up with Georgiev and Samsonov. I mean, it's getting extra juicy over there. So just keep joining those drafts and always reach out to us in Discord, Twitter, whatever. If lobbies need to get filled, we're always there to jump in.
Yeah. And ESPN, Ben Shelton, Francis Tiafoe, give it a chance if you're bored tonight. Tennis is an awesome sport, especially when there's elite guys like this teeing off of one another. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of energy too that you can feel through the TV. So there's my pitch. Tennis is cool. And good night. Yes. See you guys next week.